big data, Internet of Things, and the overall Web3 infrastructure is the future. And the crypto space and blockchain technology actually perfectly plugs into that trend and also helps accelerate the decentralization progress of it, which basically means that we're replacing current big tech such as Facebook, Google, Alibaba with decentralized protocols that are much more accessible to anyone around the world, and they also help end users to monetize data, right? So today I'm extremely excited to be talking with Matthew, who is the head of the ecosystem over at Streamr. Streamr Network is actually trying to build exactly that and basically to disrupt big tech in terms of data throughput and data and transactional flow, and enables users and end users and small guys to just monetize their data. So that's really cool. They already have substantial partnerships. We'll be talking about this in the interview. And also in the very end, we have a little chat about also the data coin, which is already trading on Binance. It's also already very much established. Hope you really enjoy this video, that you learn also something from it. Matthew is an extremely knowledgeable guy. And by the way, this is also a sponsored episode. So I've partnered up with Streamr for this video. And that said, make sure that you also subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also follow me on Twitter, like this video, comment it, just show the YouTube algorithm that this content is extremely time sensitive and extremely relevant, right? Also make sure that you watch this entire thing. All right, so I have today with me Matthew Fontana, who is the head of the ecosystem now. I think previously you've worked more on the dev side, but now you're more on the ecosystem side. With me from Streamr, which is a very interesting project that focuses on basically data monetization, data reliability, IoT, right? A lot of these things. I actually also wrote this, I read this tweet of yours, and I think it's really, really cool. It says, if data is the new oil, Streamr is the decentralized pipeline for its real-time transport, trade, and use. I think it's an amazing sales pitch that also makes it more tangible to understand what you guys are trying to build. But yeah, before we get into all these things, first things first, Matthew, thanks for joining. How is everything in Zug?
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me. Zug is lovely. It's a bit different in these Corona times, but you know, the sun still shines and the lake and the mountains are still here, so not too much to complain about.
Is the crypto valley still active?
Not as much. You see people here and there, but it's mostly lockdown. No more meetings. No more kind of impromptu chats. So yeah, looking forward to getting back to normal later in the year.
And also for those who don't know, Zug is actually also basically the home of Ethereum. That's where Ethereum basically was initially launched, and Vitalik lived there for I think half a year or a year. I don't even know exactly. Charles Hoskinson as well. Like they've all been there. Gavin Wood. So it's a historic place in crypto. That's why we call it the Crypto Valley. But yeah, that's just a side note, because I know there's also so much input now and new people that are joining the space, which is also why I really hope that you can explain stuff in very simple words, because I think you guys are doing really, for some people, maybe abstract things. And also my community, just a heads up for you as well, we're not really techie, right? We're not really deep into, tech side of things. So just a brief frame here. But before we go into what you guys do, how you do it, and benefits and core features of the platform, maybe you can talk first about how Streamr actually came up, how the team came together. You're also pretty much decentralized. I just heard you're from Australia, then you have team members in Finland and in Zug. So maybe you can talk about the origins of Streamr.
Yeah, sure. So the founders are actually Finnish, and they were working on a high frequency trading network, essentially, where low latency is absolutely everything. Milliseconds mean, you know, dollars, sort of a thing. So they were building this very fast network, and I guess kind of like Spider-Man got bitten by the radioactive spider. They saw the Ethereum white paper and got, went, oh my God, I need to decentralize what we've just built. And they made the white paper, got the crowdfunding in 2017, formed the team. And yeah, that's the origin story. My personal background, I've been tinkering around in crypto since 2013, I think, watching the Bitcoin price every half hour since then, basically. And but I realized that, you know, I'm an engineer and I can actually join. I love crypto so much I can actually participate in this movement. So I joined Streamr very early on, and yeah, never looked back.
Yeah, it's amazing. I heard someone said that if you have at least 2 cycles of bull and bear, then you're officially eligible to be called an OG. So I'm excited to have with me an OG in crypto today. I guess 2013 you already must have had. That's your 3rd already, or your 4th even, right? And Mount Gox.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'm pretty numb to the highs and lows now.
Yeah, that's amazing. So yeah, so now I think let's talk about Streamr. Maybe you can talk about what is actually the core challenge or the core problem that well, you and the founders recognized and that you guys aim to resolve.
Okay, so I can probably break it down like this in quite simple terms, in that if I wanted to set up a real-time data channel between myself and you, I would need to kind of involve a Google or an Amazon, some sort of centralized data brokerage to make that transfer happen. So what Streamr does is decentralizes that middleman broker. So with Bitcoin, they sort of replaced the bank, the middleman bank, with a network. So Streamr is doing something very similar with real-time data, where they are replacing the centralized data broker with a decentralized alternative.
Okay. So you're actually also trying to compete or tackle down the big tech in that field, because I guess there's when it comes down to who is actually dominating that niche, I think comes down to probably a handful of companies, right? So can you talk about that? Like, can you talk about also from a traditional internet space, how do you compete with them? How are you better than them, right? Basically, for example, just an analogy right now, a lot of people are asking me, oh, why should I use Uniswap, right? Why should I use Uniswap? It's so slow, it's so expensive, but well, it's decentralized, right? So can you talk about that, comparing it to the traditional space? And then also second part of the question, which competitors or other players in that field do we already have in the crypto space, and how does Streamr differentiate to those?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are pros and cons with everything. So yeah, I love your Uniswap example. You know, they're slow and whatnot, but they're decentralized. So what we aim to do is be fast and decentralized. So we want to be pretty much on parity with the centralized big players. Now, where we are perhaps weaker than the big central the big players in Silicon Valley, is that we have this kind of crypto attached to us.
Yeah.
And we like to think of this as the crypto island and the mainland. And the mainland is quite scared of crypto still. Big companies are still a bit nervous about crypto, you know, decentralized, permissionless. They don't want to hear any of that. So we have like a bit of a disadvantage in that respect. But what we're building is certainly what we think equal and probably much better than what they can offer eventually anyway. We see we're still early days, but we see what we're building at scale to kind of we'll be able to overtake them quite easily in efficiency, in price, in robustness. It's just like a far better way to build the network. It's just far more complicated, so nobody's really done it before. So yeah, we're really pioneering in this space, I believe. In terms of competitors, I would probably look at Matrix. They're quite similar in terms of competing at the network level. I can talk about competing on the application level as well, where we usually we focus on the data monetization as well as the network message propagation. And on the application layer, we get compared a lot to Ocean. And that's true because we both have data marketplaces. But what really differentiates us is that we have the infrastructure underneath that powers the marketplace. So, yeah.
Mm. Okay, and you also have a very impressive ecosystem that we're going to be talking about a bit later, and great partners. So I guess that's also one thing to really have also not just great tech on the one hand, but also have actual deployment, actual partners that are also interested to use that, right? Because that's otherwise it doesn't have any value, right? But we'll talk about this later. It also says it's also said that Streamr is a layer 0 solution. Can you expand on what that exactly means? I've also seen you in a video where you said once that you want to become multi-chain. So can you explain that?
Yeah, absolutely. So layer 0. So I guess maybe you guys are familiar with layer 1 and layer 2. Layer 1 is like the settlement blockchains like Ethereum, Bitcoin. Layer 2 is these scaling solutions like Plasma and sharding. They go on top to kind of squeeze more into the layer 1. But layer 0, I mean, it's sort of like a bit of an undefined term. We're kind of making this up as we go almost, but in my mind, it is protocol level infrastructure that can power decentralized systems like blockchains, but they don't actually have to be blockchains like web torrents, for example. They are kind of forms of decentralized systems, and any sort of decentralized system that requires communication, this is the protocol for them, essentially. Yeah.
So you're talking about it's basically a meta layer, right? That is also cross-chain compatible, or and interoperable, or how would you say? How would you?
Yeah. So it's blockchain agnostic. It's not a blockchain. It's a network of nodes that can communicate with each other and propagate high volumes of data around the world in what's called, sorry, I knew you told me not to get too technical, but I kind of have to.
That's fine. I also want people to learn, so that's totally fine. Keep going, keep on.
So the network is arranged in this kind of publish subscribe way, where data publishers are on one side. We have this big decentralized network in the middle that propagates the messages, and the subscribers on the other side that connect to this kind of mesh network in the middle. So yeah, like I said, we're blockchain agnostic. So we can, what incentivizes this network to do the work and share the bandwidth. We currently use Ethereum and xDai, but we can use any blockchain. Yeah, I can go further, but yeah.
That's actually my next question. And also, you briefly touched upon it, how other blockchains and dApps can also leverage Streamr. But also, I would like to know, you already mentioned xDai, which is also a very interesting project that I've also previously covered here on my channel. So what is the collaboration here, and what is the compatibility? Previously, I think you've only been on Ethereum, if I'm correct, and now you're also migrating to xDai, I guess due to scalability issues on Ethereum, right? So yeah, can you talk about that? What that means and what's the plans here?
Yeah, exactly. So we are kind of a native to Ethereum and Ethereum compatible chains. So it's called EVM compatible. So what that means is that we can kind of copy and paste our smart contracts to any other EVM compatible chain. So we really like xDai. We love what they're doing, and we love that the gas fees are fractions of a cent rather than many dollars. So that's why we moved data unions over, the data union smart contracts over to xDai. And yeah, we have plans to move over our data marketplace to xDai and our whole stream registry. But it's, we're not married to xDai either. So a big part of this kind of emergent crypto ecosystem is kind of picking where the party will be. We kind of see that xDai is getting a lot of traction, and it's very exciting. But perhaps Polygon kind of takes the lead and you know, it's not too bad for us. We can just copy and paste the smart contracts over. And hey, if Ethereum actually scales anytime soon, we copy paste back to Ethereum. So yeah, that's kind of how it's working at the moment.
Yeah, I like that approach, and I think it's very important to also be flexible and elastic, and not, like you said, get married to a certain to a certain chain. Equally, as token holders get married to their bags that they're holding, some projects tend to get married to the chain that they're initially launched on. So it's great that you're actually open to also evaluate new things. One thing that I'm super excited about, as I hear you also and learn from you, is because I'm also a big fan of Cosmos. I think what they're building with IBC might also be something that could be integrated in terms of interoperability and chain, cross-chain connectivity. That's one thing that I'm super, super excited about. And I think eventually in the future, as we go on in crypto, in the blockchain economy, we'll see more such bridges, right? Connections between projects, between technology stacks. And eventually it's all going to become one whole interoperable internet, right? Just as we have the TCP/IP protocol and the current internet, which connects all the websites and everything on the back end, I think we'll have something like that in the future as well for the blockchain space.
Yeah, totally agree. There's no technical blockers to that happening. It'll happen. The limitation at the moment are the bridges, and they are being solved. So yeah, total agreement.
All right. So now let's move on to probably your most exciting field. Also, you most likely had a lot of impact on that as well, and that is the Streamr ecosystem. You have impressive partnerships in play already with the WWF, with the Union Bank, and also French tech giant Atos, or how you pronounce it. Can you talk about the ecosystem and also tell us which partnership that you are most excited about?
Well, you mentioned the WWF Union Bank partnership. I'm also super excited about that one. It's really an interesting story as well. So what they're collaborating with us on is what's called a data union of fishermen. And you might ask yourself, why on earth are banks getting involved in this? Well, fishermen actually are unbanked. Their job is to catch fish and they sell them at the market. So they can't get loans. So what Streamr is providing in this data union is we are incentivizing them to report their catches. And once they have reported their catches, they have an auditable trail of work history, and they can take that work history to the bank, and the bank can give them microloans. Now, when I first heard this blew my mind, because I kind of, I'm in this data monetization space, and my head was just, okay, you get, you give your data to someone, you get dollars back. But this really opened my mind to the kind of different value opportunities that come from data. So I really like that particular use case and partnership. I also like the Ataka partnership that we recently announced. That was kind of an EU level research grant. So they are researching anti-rival tokens. And data is inherently anti-rival. And what anti-rival means is that it's kind of like in a multiplayer game, the more people that join, the better it gets. With data, the more data that comes in, the better and more valuable the data is. So that's really like a one-to-one touchdown with what we're building with data unions, where we're crowdsourcing all this data to come together to make something more valuable. So we are in this research project with some very smart researchers and universities coming up with interesting, very fascinating tokenomics that work to this anti-rival concept. So yeah, that's something I'm really excited to be a part of.
Yeah, very interesting. And you also already mentioned the data coin. I think we'll talk about this next. But before we do that, because I'm also really interested, like in the field of IoT and data, there's so many like use case scenarios. What you just described with the fisherman is probably one of the least that I would have thought about, right? When I was thinking about that. So can you maybe give 2 or 3 more examples, potential use cases, or also use cases that you think that could really scale and could really also have an impact against, or not against, but like have an impact on the current big tech infrastructure and ecosystem that we're having.
Yeah, the one use case that really stands out to me is smart cities. Basically, everything running through the smart city, it can be powered through the Streamr network. That's a huge one for us. I also think mobility is really fascinating as well. When you hop onto a scooter, for example, that scooter could potentially be a Streamr node. Maybe it's pushing the location data to a data union. You hop on your scooter for a ride, and it actually pays you more than what you paid to use it, for example. That's probably like a bit too extreme, but these sorts of IoT plays where the data is valuable, so it kind of, the device that you buy pays for itself.
And you also mentioned smart cities. Can you also do you have currently some research projects in play there, or some pilot projects, or what is in the works there?
Nothing that I can announce, unfortunately, but we certainly.
I see. I understand.
Yeah. We certainly work in that space, but our focus, admittedly, is on the crypto island itself. So, with smart cities, it's interesting. Everyone kind of looks as, oh my God, this is the perfect use case. But unfortunately, the gateholders of that perfect use case are governments, and governments are super, super slow. So you kind of have to pick your battles. So I think that'll really light up in the next few years, but it's not something that's like immediately activated just yet.
Got it. Yeah. All right. So let's move on to the data coin. What is the purpose of the coin? Maybe talk through some basic tokenomics features. Also the underlying economic incentive structure, and why the coin basically exists in the first place.
Oh yeah, sure. So the data coin is used for paying for data transport on the Streamr network, and it's also to pay for data content on the Streamr network. So the final tokenomics are still in the R&D phase for the network incentivization. So they'll activate next year. But basically, I can give you some kind of sneak peek understanding of how it's looking like it'll work. So these data broker nodes that I talked about that will propagate the messages on the network, they'll need to stake some data tokens to have a right to participate in the earning of data tokens that data publishers pay to use this service. And this also opens the door to average Joes, like lazy people like me that don't want to run a node, that just want to stake to kind of get a yield. So I can stake on a broker node and expect that they do good work. And by staking my coins in this broker node, I'm signaling to the market that this guy is a good broker. So I'm actually providing value, and returning to me is a yield. As well as that, like I mentioned, on the application layer, data tokens are used as payment for data unions. So if you joined a data union, for example, you're one of the fishermen that is taking pictures of their catch in the location, you'll be getting paid in data tokens as well. And so, the data token will kind of accumulate in these sinks of data unions on the Streamr network, and it will also accumulate on the broker nodes that are transporting the data.
Interesting. All right. That's very cool. So it also basically enables people to generate cash flow and earn yields. I think that's also now also with the DeFi summer in 2020. I think that's also very, very exciting. Business model for a lot of people, just to also earn passive income in the end of the day. Really, really interesting stuff. Before we wrap it up, I think we're very good in the time, because the attention span in the crypto community is really, really low, especially in a bull run. And you've been through 3 of them, so you might, or 4, 3, I think.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
you must know.
I do. I do.
So what's on the roadmap for 2021 for this year? We can also already expect one large smart city onboarding that we just talked about. Just kidding, but yeah, talk us through what's coming this year.
So the big, the big milestone, probably the biggest in the project, is the Brubeck milestone that will happen in the summer months, and we will be releasing kind of the node infrastructure so that anybody can run a node and join our incentivized testnet. When this milestone happens, we'll be updating the website, so totally brand new, releasing a network explorer so you can actually see the real-time data flow through the network. There might be a partnership, mentioned in the new website as well. So yeah,
right.
It's the biggest thing. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds cool. Yeah. And for anyone who now listen to this and who thinks, man, I really like this project, I like what Matthew was just saying, what would you recommend them to either get involved in the project or simply get connected with you? What is the best place to get started?
Yeah, so if you're not a builder, I guess like that's the majority of people, we'll be honest, you can join a data union. So the big one is Swash, so they will pay you for browsing the internet. So how good is that? You install a browser extension and you'll start getting data tokens back. So I recommend that. And keep a lookout for the summer months when you're able to run a node and earn data tokens then. That'll be pretty cool. And if you are a builder, please build a data union. And if you have an app or some sort of business that has useful data, you can integrate the data unions framework and start making money from that data. So yeah, there's plenty of options there. And please join our Discord and just say hello. And yeah, it's a really interesting space, this whole kind of data monetization and data brokerage. It's very hot space considering all the regulations coming through, all the data leaks. Yeah, it's a hot space.
Yeah, and I always say that because sure, probably 90 or 80 or 90%, maybe even more than that, of the people in crypto, they're to speculate on coin tickers, on coin market cap and whatnot. But I think in the long run, we're actually building the Web3, and data is probably the most important part of it, right? The most important pillar of building a sustainable Web3 in a decentralized way, right? Peer-to-peer internet. So yeah, I really love to see these things, and also learn more myself. I mean, it's also great. I think this space is so new, so we're all kind of still figuring things out, and building the ideal economic incentive models and game theory. So yeah, that's really amazing. That was a great conversation. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll keep in touch with you guys, and also keep track of the project and look out for the summer months. I guess that's
awesome. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, man. All right, take care.
Cheers.
Cheers.